So 3, 2, 1.
See it. I knew you were going to be the same.
3 Identical Strangers. This is a documentary about 3 brothers, triplets, that were given up to an adoption agency, that were separated at birth, and they didn't know each other existed until they're 19 years old. For me, it's a see it because it's more than just a documentary of 3 I wrote down 3 twins. 3 triplets that were adopted by 3 different families. A great look into human psychology. It's the question of nature versus nurture, and that's where this film goes. And because it was more than just a documentary of just 3 triplets that didn't know each other existed until they were 19, that's why this is a see it for me.
It was a see it for me because every step of the way was entertaining. I was captivated by the brothers. I was captivated by the story. And when you started going into the more serious aspect of the movie, it caught my attention and I was invested in the movie the entire time.
The first half of this film is about the 3 brothers. And at about the halfway mark, there's a turning point. And
then there's another turning point.
The less you know about this story going into it, the better this film is. I didn't know anything about this story. I've never heard of this. I didn't know about the ramifications of everything that happened here. I watched about half of the trailer, and then I turned it off and said, we're seeing it. That's it. So also, if you don't know what we're talking about and you want to see a trailer, the trailer will be in the description below. Check that out. If you watch that trailer and you want to see the film and then come back and watch the rest of this review, go ahead and go do that, because the less you know about this story, this film, the better it is. Let's go into the things that we liked.
I would have to say that the thing that I liked the most was that the first half of the movie is very lighthearted. It's about the boys. It's about it's about when they met when they were 19 and how they met. It's a funny story. One of the twins is very goofy.
Triplets.
One of the triplets is very goofy.
We keep on saying twins. It's hard to get away from the twins.
Because the story is, but I will have to say the first half of the movie was very lighthearted. And it was very fun to watch them find each other and grow with each other and figure out their quirks and all their similarities. And it was just a fun first half of the film for me. And then when it turns into the more suspenseful and it gets a little bit darker, it doesn't lose my attention. Yeah. It just keeps you on your toes the entire time. And that's what I really liked, is that there's no moment in the movie. First it's lighthearted, and then it's suspenseful, and then it's actually kind of scary. Yeah. Like there's this train that goes, that just keeps going through the movie, and all of a sudden you hit every single emotion that you see that you would want to see in a movie.
No, I agree. The things that I liked, the film, like you said, the film starts fast and it never lets up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it literally
hits the wall.
The opening scenes is of when they're 19, and the very first scene is the one guy, the one brother, realizing that there's another one of him out there. Mm-hmm. And the story goes is that he went to a college that his other brother was going to, but his brother didn't return for this semester that he was going to. And people thought he was someone else. Mm-hmm. He was like, "No, I'm not Eddie. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm someone else." I can't remember. It was Eddie, David, and
Bobby.
And then Bobby realizes that there's another one of him out there, and then he goes to go meet his brother, Eddie,
who's also adopted and has the same. They're identical. They're identical twins. So it's
and at that moment they were twins. At that moment they were twins, and the film starts out with that. And they tell their stories. They're really funny stories. They're charismatic guys, and the film just never lets. I don't want to say it's like, not that it doesn't let you breathe, but it never lets you get bored.
There's not a moment that went by where I was like, okay, let's get on with the story. Let's get on with everything. It was just from the beginning to the end, because there's so many twists and turns near the halfway point of the movie that you almost can't not look away.
Yeah.
You have to watch it because you have to know what's going to happen next. And it's amazing how there was every single turn was the new beginning to the next part of the chapter of their crazy story.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked a lot was that this is a documentary that starts out about three brothers that were separated at birth and adopted by three different families that become so much more than just three brothers that happened to find out that they were a pair of triplets. Mm-hmm. And then it starts diving into...
Like, it first focuses heavily on their similarities, and then all of a sudden someone looked to them and said, wait, what are your differences?
Yeah.
And that's when the story gets crazy.
And I don't want to give anything away, but once the film makes a turn about these three brothers as to the why didn't we know we existed when we were growing up, is when this film takes that, like you said, takes that turn. Mm-hmm. And then they start asking the questions. And then we get into one of my favorite aspects of this documentary, which was it made us start thinking about our own upbringings when we were driving home. We talked a lot about like how we were raised, and it brings up the question of nature versus nurture and what could be more powerful in someone's life. You know, is our certain tics and personalities, you know, ingrained in our DNA? Are we sort of predisposed to be a certain way, or does the environment we grow up in determine who we turn out to be?
This documentary will make you think about every single thing that you've ever done in your life and why. Why did you play basketball when you were 12? Why did you why do you eat this type of food? Why do you eat at this time of the day? Every single thing in your life you start to think about and like, hang on, was this nature? Was this nurture?
Like, one of the aspects of this film is that when they're interviewing the brothers, when they first, when the three of them start making their rounds on TV, they're like, what kind of cigarettes do you smoke? They all smoke the same cigarettes. What kind of food do you like? They all eat the same kind of food. What kind of girls do you guys date? They all date the same kind of girls. And
it was funny. And
it was funny, but it was like that. Everyone looking at it like, were you guys just predisposed because of your DNA to like all these things? But they weren't looking at the things that made them different. And then there was a point in the film where they go in like the business together. And then that's when like the quirks of each brother starts to
develop and
starts to come out, that they realize that they're not all the same person, that they have different work ethics. They have different work ethics. They have different things that motivate them. They have different things they want to accomplish in their life. Mm-hmm. And then they start realizing when they go into business together that maybe they're not as compatible as they thought they were. And that's when they start coming up with the questions of nature versus nurture. Maybe just because they did come from or maybe because they were triplets doesn't mean that they were predisposed to be interested in the same things. Mm-hmm. But then there's other questions that come up with this, with twins and triplets, and you know, is it okay for people who are twins and triplets and quadruplets okay to be raised apart from one another? Can that have psychological effects? Mm-hmm. And those are some of the questions that really, really made you think about the way we were raised. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I liked about about this documentary, and one of my favorite aspects about any documentary is when they make you think about your own life choices and the things that happen to you in your life. Mm-hmm. And because this film did that, it sits very, very high for me.
I like all kinds of documentaries too. I watch health documentaries, nature documentaries. I watch all the crime documentaries on Netflix. I love all those. Yeah. So going into this movie in the theaters, I thought was very different for me, and I personally wasn't 100% sure I was going to enjoy it, even though I enjoy documentaries. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily need to go to a theater to see it. However, this movie, if you're not a documentary person, this is a documentary that will get you into all documentaries.
Yeah,
you will want to watch documentaries.
There was a certain cinematic flair that this film had, because as like they're telling the reenactments, like as the brothers are telling the stories, they went and filmed reenactments for it, and the reenactments look really nice.
Yeah, but they also weren't overly done. The documentary,
you never see like the actors' faces. Yeah. You see like a close up, like maybe like their mouth or them walking.
There's some that I thought was really, sorry I interrupted you, but there was some that I really liked was that their voices went on in the actors. I thought that was cool. That was cool. It was a little bit of, I don't know what you call it in the film world, but it gave a little bit of...
it's a style.
Yeah. It just was cool. It was cool to me.
Yeah. I just want to leave the conversation where it's at. It's a go see it. See it as soon as you can. It's fantastic. We saw it. It was practically sold out.
It was sold out.
I mean, it was packed.
It was packed. I mean, it's a documentary to get you into all documentaries. It's just a really good... Even if you're not into documentaries, you're going to like this one.
So, that's it. 3 Identical Strangers. Fantastic film. Go see it. Can't rate this documentary high enough. It's one of my favorites of the year. It's one of my favorite documentaries I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really good.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. I don't know what comes out this weekend, but we'll be seeing
Ant-Man. Hello.
Oh, yeah. And we got The Purge. We'll probably be seeing The Purge on Tuesday. So, Purge, Ant-Man. So, stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Subscribe if you'd like to see it. Thank you.